If you're considering a penile implant or are a current user of the AMS 700 inflatable penile prosthesis, you have probably heard that there is a new pump available. That's right, the AMS 700 series has released its new Tenacio pump, and if you want to know what are the features, improvements, and challenges, well, stay tuned because today I will talk about the new AMS 700 Tenacio pump and how it differentiates from the previous MS pump. Hello, this is Jonathan Clavell, urologist and penile implant expert in Houston, Texas. As you may already know, there are two companies producing inflatable penile implants in the United States. We have Coloplast Corp that makes the Titan series and Boston Scientific which makes the AMS 700 series. If you wish to learn more about the Coloplast Titan pumps specifically, please hit the link above where you will be able to find specific details on how these work. Now to the AMS 700 pumps. First of all, we need to remember that the inflatable penile prosthesis has three components, which include the reservoir that's in your abdomen, the cylinders that are in your penis, and the pump that's sitting in your scrotum. If you ask me, I truly believe it is extremely important to know what are the features of that pump, since this is a part of the implant system that the user, meaning you and I, will be interacting with on a daily basis. Now, over the past decade, the AMS 700 series has been utilizing the MS pump, which stands for momentary squeeze. And it wasn't until a few months ago, in 2024, that Boston Scientific released its new pump called Tenacio. You may be wondering, why the change? What are the new features of the pump? Is a Tenacio better than the MS pump? Does this mean I need to go change my pump right away? Well, let's start talking about the MS pump. The MS pump, which again stands for momentary squeeze, has been the standard pump for AMS 700 penile implants for over a decade. It's designed, as you can see, has a bulb on the bottom that you press to get the implant inflated and a small rectangular shaped mechanism on the top that contains a button on the center that you press and hold to deflate the implant. It is designed with a momentary squeeze deflation button, meaning you have to hold it down for fluid to transfer from the cylinders back into the reservoir. It also contains a lockout valve that prevents autoinflation, which is a term that we use for when the cylinders start inflating on their own without you squeezing the pump. One very cool feature that the deflation mechanism of the MS pump has is that when you press the deflate button, the pump vibrates, and this way gives the user feedback of when the implant is deflating. Why is this important? Because sometimes, and specifically when you first start cycling the implant, many patients do not know if they are pressing the deflate valve correctly. And when they feel that vibration within the pump, they get that eureka moment and get excited because now they know that they are deflating their implant. This is a feature that only the MS pump has. However, we have noticed that a small group of patients have encountered challenges with the pump. One of these challenges is the pump can sometimes get stuck, what we call the sticky pump or Stiction syndrome. The sticky pump refers to the condition where the inflation or deflation mechanism of the penile implant pump becomes difficult to operate over time. Sometimes the deflation valve inside the pump may not open easily, requiring extra force to activate it. Other times, specifically when the user has not been cycling the pump on a regular basis and he starts to inflate the implant, the fluid within that system does not transfer as efficiently as we would like to. This can lead to frustration on some patients and surgeons and may require additional troubleshooting tips for it to work. On a side note, if you are encountering the sticky pump problem with the AMS 700 MS pump, I have a quick tip that might help you solve the problem. This will require you to try to inflate and deflate the implant multiple times. What I mean by that is that you can start by inflating the penis and giving it a few pumps, let's say 5 pumps, and then try to press and hold the deflate button while you firmly squeeze the base of the penis. Remember, you will know that you are deflating because you will feel the vibration of the pump. That lets you know that you are deflating that implant. Then try to inflate again. Sometimes that going back and forth between inflation and deflation solves the problem. How will you know that this problem is solved? Most of the time, you can feel that initial click or a pop when you start your inflation with the MS pump. And that should let you know that the pump is not stuck anymore. Now, to avoid Stiction syndrome or the sticky pump, we recommend patients to cycle the device regularly, that is, every day or every other day. Now, you might be wondering, why does the Stiction problem occur in the first place? Well, the MS pump has both the inflation and deflation mechanisms within the same valve. and sometimes one of the components that allows for this valve to be one way and intended to prevent autoinflation can become fixed in the deflated position, and therefore it can prevent the transfer of fluid among the reservoir pump and cylinders. Some believe that this might be a reason for which the sticky pump occurs. However, there is no research that validates this as a true cause, and this remains just a theory. If you wish to learn how to best inflate and deflate your AMS 700 MS pump, we recommend you to watch our YouTube video, link above. Now, Tenacio. The Tenacio pump was released to the market in 2024. Tenacio, unlike MS, has an independent valve system. This means that unlike the MS pump, the Tenacio has a valve to inflate and a separate valve to deflate. They also designed the fluid pathways to be more direct with less twists and turns like the MS pump. These features are set to enhance performance. Boston Scientific claims that the Tenacio pump carries a 27% refill rate compared to the MS pump, which can reduce the time required to achieve full inflation. They also claim that this pump allows for quicker and more efficient inflation. What this means is that there are some men that are not able to fully squeeze the pump and only provide for what we call baby bird squeezes. Well, Tenacio allows for those baby bird squeezes to be more efficient. And when it comes to deflation, its independent valve system should allow the system to be a one press and you're done deflation rather than pressing and holding the deflate button to get the penis deflated. That's the engineering stuff in layman's terms. But the tactile features that you may notice are the following. Number one, the bulb of the pump has a more prominent grip, which is intended to make it easier to locate the bulb and squeeze, especially for men with dexterity issues. And number two, the deflate button has a higher profile. It is slightly bigger, which is intended to provide tactile feedback, which should allow men to know when you have activated that deflate button. The feedback that it provides is a subtle click that you may feel when you press the deflate button. Even though I have personally found that click to be extremely subtle and difficult to truly feel, it is fairly obvious when you hit the deflate valve because you will feel the cylinders deflating and getting softer. Now, let's compare the MS and the Tenacio pump side by side and look at their features. Let's start from the top. The MS pump has a longer deflation block in the shape of a rectangle. This is at the deflate mechanism area, which in my opinion allows the user to differentiate the button from everything else. But the button itself is slightly smaller than Tenacio. The MS deflate button is intended to be pressed and held for deflation, and it gives you the vibration feedback. The Tenacio's deflate mechanism has two areas that are intended for the user to have a better grip and have a more prominent deflate valve. In my opinion, this can sometimes create slight confusion for some patients because they cannot differentiate between the size of the grip and the actual button. The Tenacio pump is intended to be pressed once and released for deflation, and it has a click-like feedback that is very subtle. The MS pump has a smaller neck and slightly larger bulb for inflation. On the other hand, the Tenacio pump has a longer neck and a slightly smaller and supposedly more efficient bulb. The user does need to understand that sometimes pressing on the neck may not push in as much fluid, and sometimes it is better to inflate from the bottom of the bulb. Last but not least, if you recently received the Tenacio pump and would like some tips and tricks that I have learned in my early experience with this pump and what I have gathered from other surgeons and users, here you go. Number one, the closer you pump from the bottom of the bulb, the easier it will feel to inflate. Try to inflate from the bottom and avoid inflating near the neck. Number two, a two-handed technique is always easier for most people. One hand to stabilize either the tubing or the side of the block with those built-in grips, and the other hand to squeeze the bulb of the pump and inflate. Remember, if you're holding the side of the block grips, there is no need for you to squeeze with a lot of force. Remember, the system is made of silicone, and sometimes squeezing too hard on the side grip can cause issues with the valve seals. Number three, remember that baby bird squeezes also work. It might require a lot more squeezes, but you should be able to get the shaft hard enough for intercourse. And number four, when it comes to deflation, some users believe there is no need to press super hard on that deflate valve. Once you got the deflate valve unlocked, that should be it. You do not need to hold it down while force squeezing your shaft, although this may help get it deflated faster. In summary, the MS pump and the Tenacio pump are two completely different pumps. The Tenacio is not an upgrade of the MS pump, but a new pump altogether. If you ask me, I truly believe the Tenacio will not replace the MS pump in the market. It is a new pump, and with time, we are certain we will learn about its new challenges. As with everything around us, there is no such thing as a perfect pump. Remember, this was just released, and now that it is being implanted by hundreds of implanters out there, we will soon learn if there are any issues or problems with it. That said, early research studies have demonstrated this to be a reliable and durable pump. On the other hand, if you have an MS pump, do not worry. The MS design has been proven to be reliable and trusted by thousands of patients. I have personally witnessed patients that have had their AMS 700 implants for over 15 years. If you do not have problems with your AMS 700 implant, do not feel that you have to go to your surgeon to get the Tenacio pump installed. If anything, wait until your current implant fails. Sometimes that new upgraded car is not necessarily better than the reliable car you have been driving for years. What will happen with Tenacio is something that we will learn in the future. Still have questions? Feel free to comment below. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with others. And if you are considering an implant and are looking for a surgeon, we are here for you. See you next time.